Greetings YouTube, it's your buddy Choppodong. It is a full slate Tuesday and we're going to dive into baseball a little bit. Today I want to show you a couple of different ways to find different stacks in MLB. This is hyper simple stuff, and the reason why is I just don't believe baseball takes a ton of research like everybody else thinks. Yes, if you have the time in a day, you can dig in and dig and dig and dig and dig and dig and find out if the guy ties his left shoe first or his right shoe, or if he uses Irish Spring or uses Old Spice in the shower or body wash or bar soap or whatever. But the more you dig down to those very, very, very details, the more you're actually going to, in my opinion, receive a law of diminishing returns, where for the time invested, you're just not going to get more of an edge out of it. So I try to stick with the superficial stuff up top, and then I will use tools like DFS armies to kind of round out the research. Yeah, implied run total is important. Yeah. Knowing certain things, hitters, parks, whatever is important. But really and truly, it's not complicated in baseball. When we're looking for offenses to stack, we want to find bad pitching. We want to find good offenses going against bad pitching. It just so happens that right over here in the research station at dfsarmy.com, you've got all that stuff laid out for you really, really quickly. All you have to do is slide over here, look at the DFSA grade, come down here to the bottom, where it's trash, and these are your pitchers. It's already sorted for you. You might want to go a little bit of detail. You look over here, who's going to be absolutely the worst, because it looks like what we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bad pitchers today. 2 or 3, maybe 3 or 4 really bad. And yeah, some of these guys up here can blow up, but generally speaking, day in and day out, if you stick to the bottom of this list and the offense is facing these pitchers, you're going to be okay. I'm looking over here in this 1819 stats number. I'm looking for things that indicate bad pitching. A high walk per 9 rate. A high home run per 9 rate. Hello, that's probably the biggest indicator of all. A high whip, which is walks and hits plus innings pitched. A high Sierra, which is one of my go-tos. Then I might look over here, like if I see a W score, which is WOBA for the team facing the pitcher versus the WOBA allowed by the pitcher. I mean, it stands to reason that if he gives up a high WOBA against and he's facing a team with a high WOBA for, it makes sense that's a bad matchup for the pitcher, which means it's good for the bats or good for the stacks. So 673 is pretty darn high on Menes here. Now, I'm sure at an 80% fly ball rate and a 3.6 home run per 9, he's on a very, very small sample. So these numbers kind of need to be taken with a grain of salt anyway. Doesn't mean you can't stack against them. It just means, don't be surprised if these numbers prove to be the guy just got off to a rough start up here at the majors. I'm looking more for the established guys, and I'm looking down here at the red numbers. If this line across here mostly has red numbers in it, like say this one right here, red, red, white, red, red, 5.24 Sierra, 1.46 whip, 15% K percentage, which is really low. It means he doesn't miss a lot of bats. 3.43 walks per 9. I'm going to come over here to Andrew Cashner. Is that my first stack? I don't know. Maybe not. But I'm looking for, a handful of these guys. And they're generally all down here in the bottom. And what I'm doing is I'm going to scroll over this way, and now I'm going to look at their opponents. And I want to find good offenses. Is Cleveland a good offense? Pretty good. Is Pittsburgh? Not so much. Milwaukee? Yes. Kansas City? At times. Chicago Cubs? At times. Tampa Bay? Sometimes sneaky. Lower ownership. Sometimes they can go off. LA? Pretty decent in a hitter's park in Cincinnati. Texas, yes. Texas versus Cleveland might be an interesting game stack situation tonight, being that both of them are kind of down here at the bottom of the list. Arizona, Cincinnati, these guys are all kind of down here. Now, would I be stacking Miami against Zach Wheeler? No. Why? Wheeler's one of the better pitchers on the slate. I don't need to do that. Now, I could if I was getting really stupid in a giant tournament, but I try to play tournaments and leagues and things that are more winnable, grind up a bankroll, and teach people how to do the same. So I'm going to be focused on these offenses right here. Now, what is the other method that I use? It's really simple. I come over here to the Stacks tab. If you click these 3 dots, it'll open up to you, but I click the Stacks tab. And I scroll all the way over to the right, and I see what the ranked stacks are. Minnesota, Cleveland, Boston, Cincinnati, LA, Washington, Chicago. Okay, so we saw a few of those names, right? So if we saw a couple of the names at the bottom of the pitching list, like Cleveland, LA, Chicago even, then I might put a little bit more weight on those guys and say maybe those are my 3 favorite stacks tonight. I'm just not going to overthink it. Of course, I'm not going to Miami tonight because they're facing one of the better pitchers. That's why they're one of the lowest rated stacks. So as I scroll over and I start going through these matchups, you can. That's the main thing. I'm writing those teams out. What's checkbox number 3 is I'm going to wait in our Slack channels for CG's stack rankings. He jostles the numbers around a little bit, and then he ranks the stacks, and he's been pretty damn good at it. So I'm going to have these guys on a short list, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. And then I'm going to, it's a big slate tonight. If it was a smaller slate, I'd have a much smaller list. And then I'm going to wait for his stacks, and I may take the top 3 stacks. Or I may see somebody on his stack sheet that has a little bit lower ownership to them, and I may run them in my hybrids or my tournaments instead. But generally speaking, that's how I'm finding stacks. It's simple. Yeah, it makes me look like a buffoon but I never pretend to be some all-knowing baseball expert. I'm just showing you how to process information very, very quickly and how to simplify things because you're busy, you're at work, and whatever else. This is all I do. I look for bad pitchers with bad indicators like home run per 9, walks per 9, and I look at the team that they're facing. And then I go over and I look at the stacks ranking. And then I wait for CG's stacks ranking. And I make up my mind. Which 2 or 3 or 4 offenses am I going to try to target the most? Sometimes I can't do it. If you throw me a $12,000 pitcher, I can't get into Boston no matter how much I like them. But I'm going to try, in which case I slide down my rankings list further and maybe pick up somebody like a Cincinnati. But I'm trying to get into those top-rated offenses that are also facing bad pitching because that's generally where you're going to find your production. Just the opposite of what we do for pitching, where we try to find a good pitcher facing a bad offense. It's just not rocket science. So I would do those 3 things. If you wanted to get cute, you can even look at the batter matchups tab. You can sort down here by starting pitcher ISO. And then you can start looking for the high ISO pitchers for some right-handedness, left-handedness type stuff, like a 212. Juan Soto's in a good spot tonight. Matt Adams in another good spot tonight. Down here, Rendon. We've got the pitcher, which righties and lefties in Washington are giving the highest ISO to the bats. So both sides are in play. Rendon's in play. Gomes if he starts. Suzuki if he starts are all in play. So I would be looking to stack Washington, being that they're facing the pitcher that gives up the highest ISO on the slate. Now, again, maybe a small sample size, but that's an indicator that he's going to struggle. Scroll down a little bit more. A 310 is still really, really bad. So Didi Gregorius is in play. Brett Gardner, maybe. Tauchman's in play, if that's how you say his last name. And then in LA, Ohtani might be in play. Bohr, if he starts, might be in play. If he's even playing right now, Calhoun might be in play. Thice might be in play. Short sample because 318 is not sustainable. Tells me it's not a very big sample. But these are the things that I'm looking for in some of the bats. Another thing that I do is I kick over to the Trends tab here. And I want to see who on these L7 WOBAs, how did that slide over? I want to find on these L7 WOBAs, in the teams that I'm looking for, who's running the best. So what did we mention? Cleveland. So I click on Cleveland, and I see that if I'm targeting Cleveland tonight, thank you. If I'm targeting Cleveland tonight, I'm looking for these guys. Now again, 12 plate appearances. If Plawecki gets the start, I'll be very, very tempted to start him at 2,200. I got nothing to lose. But if he doesn't get the start, Kipnis is fine. Lindor is fine. Down here, where do you cut off? I don't know. Somewhere in the top 4 or 5 guys. If they're all up around 400, running over 400, that's great. If they're up there 380, 390, that's fine. 350, 300, I don't know. The 350, I might if I'm looking for a value bat and it happens to be a cheap dude and he was a 300 2 weeks ago and he's a 350 now. It shows me that he's trending up, so I might take a shot on him. 236, 298, 352, trending up, trending up, trending up. Maybe he's getting hot. I don't know. I might take a shot on him. It sure beats, something like this, 365, 213, 290, that it was kind of trending down, right? I'm going to wait for these numbers to come back up. That's the beauty of small sample sizes, is when I use the small sample size on top of a larger sample size, I can see if it's trending up or trending down. And that allows me to pick the correct bats most of the time. This particular page is not handedness. The other one is. But Kipnis, Lindor, Leplo, and Carlos Santana, those guys all are decent stacks. Perez is cheap. If Plawecki gets the start, he's great. These are the guys that I'd be using. I'm not using a lot of these guys down in here, even if Jose Ramirez is in a great spot. That's how I do it. Other people will say Jose Ramirez has a huge track record. Franmil Reyes has a lot of power. I'm going to use them anyway. That's fine. You can do that. You just, in my opinion, don't have an indicator that they're running all that hot right now, and baseball's a streaky game. So what was another one? Boston's another one that we might look at tonight, right? So JD Martinez is running hot. Benintendi's still running hot. Chavis is not bad. And Marco Hernandez, if he draws a start, 5 at-bats, I doubt it. If he draws a start, might not be bad. The rest of the guys, I don't know. A little shaky. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm not saying it's a bad stack. I'm saying these are the bats I'd focus on. Then I'd fill in with some of these other guys based on other information that I find. Let's do one more. Yankees is probably too obvious and too easy. Let's do Tampa Bay because I said Tampa Bay was pretty cheap and oftentimes get lower ownership. Darno, if you're going to run him, 505 Woba last 7 days. Garcia Aguilar got you a 0 last night, so that sort of sucked. 486, maybe it was a 3 or something. It wasn't great. Garcia, if he's in the lineup, Sogard, Choi, Austin Meadows. What I like is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bats over a 380 WOBA in the last 7 days. That offense in general is hitting the ball well. Puts Trent Thornton in a bad spot unless he really brings his A game tonight. So a sneaky stack might be Tampa Bay. Might be. There's a million ways to go on a huge slate like tonight. So you need to draw lines in the sand. You need to eliminate teams. And the way you do that is you eliminate those pitchers that are quote unquote good, and you focus on the bad, and then focus on who they're facing. And then you grab those offenses and try to stack within them with the bats that are currently doing the most damage. And the way you use those stacks is you look for the bad pitching in this grade, you look at the stacks tab here for the rankings, and then you watch for CG sheet. And then you make up your mind at what you think, at what you like, and why you like it. Listen to the other coaches, go to the coaching notes page, figure out what they like. Kind of internalize it all very loosely to where you're still sticking with more or less your gut and your thoughts, but you're letting the others kind of confirm what you're thinking. Like if I liked Cleveland, Boston, and Tampa Bay tonight, and then I saw Cleveland was recommended by a couple of coaches, but Boston and Tampa Bay really weren't, well, then that solidifies my thought. Cleveland is where I'm going with my primary stack. Everybody agrees. I don't worry as much about ownership because honestly, I'm going to find different ways. If you followed our Twitch stream earlier today, you heard me talk about it. You're going to find different lineups out there. You don't need to worry about it as much. That's just how I play baseball. It's a smart, safe way to play cash games and hybrid lineup situations. Now, tournaments are a different animal. You want to be contrarian, blah, blah, blah. But generally speaking, you keep the bulk of your money in those cash safe hybrid type contests, and then you goof with a little bit of your GPP stuff. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully this helps point you in the right direction, help you find some stacks. I'm Choppodong, content editor and contributor at dfsarmy.com. We have a free trial going on if you're interested. $10 for 5 days. Very, very simple. You get to see us cycle through a whole week of PGA, NASCAR, NFL's coming, college football is coming, baseball, of course, you get several days of baseball. It's a very easy way to kick the tires before you commit to a month. Of course, if you don't cancel, you'll be priced in at regular pricing. But you use the code TRIAL, trial, when you sign up, and that triggers that. I'll put that in my comments section down below, as well as the link to the site. If you just know you want to be here and it's just time to get off the pot because you've seen us winning, you've seen the $6,000 last night, the $35,000 in golf the day before, and all of the wins that we've produced throughout the year because you follow us on Twitter or whatever, then you might just want to use the coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, and get yourself 20% off of the regular pricing right out of the gate. Hopefully I see you inside. Hopefully I get to coach you up a little bit. I'm talking to a couple of guys right now. I'll probably share this video with them because we were talking about stacks today, so that's what inspired the stacks video. So 15 minutes in and out. If you like this material, you like and subscribe the YouTube channel, and you ring the notification bell so that you get yourself, obviously, the notifications dropping to your phone when a new video drops onto YouTube. So that's Tuesday. I'll be on the smaller slates. You guys have fun with the big slate. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.